three times lucky. When I said Angela Rayner was toast,
Yes,
Mandelson then was toast, and now Starmer is. Andy Burnham is just Keir Starmer with a northern accent. Thank goodness we've got somebody who's the President of the United States who is so pro-British.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Expresso with me, JJ Anisiobi. And today I'm joined by the wonderful Esther McVey. So Esther, what's everyone talking about in the halls of power? Is it about the polling? Because it looks disastrously bad for Labour.
It is unprecedented negative polling for the Labour government. Approval rating 11%, negative ratings 72%. So overall, the government is minus 61% approval ratings. I mean, that's record-breakingly low. And it's because it's a staggering incompetence of this Labour government. Nothing gets built, nothing works, everybody feels nothing can get done, mass immigration, strikes, unemployment, no growth. It is the pathology of this country that is bringing everybody down. Starmer's government really is between idiocy and economic illiteracy.
Oof. Last week, you come on this show and you said Mandelson is toast. And then he really was toast. They got rid of him. Now you're saying Starmer's toast. So you really think he's not going to last?
Well, actually, three times lucky. When I said Angela Rayner was toast,
Yes,
Mandelson then was toast, and now Starmer is. Whether it's a day, whether it's a week, whether it's a couple of months, you know, he is just unable to lead that party. They can't really get anything right, and that is the problem. He tried to be all things to all people. He tried to, say he would do some stuff for the Blairites, say he'd do stuff for the Corbynistas, say he'd do stuff for the trade unions, and he has done absolutely nothing, and he is in a corner. And worse now is he's losing his support within number 10. People are disappearing, and they think that Morgan McSweeney will be next. Paul Overton has just gone. That was the one who had those emails. They were from 8 years ago, so they might have been unsavoury, but they were 8 years ago. But that means he is gone. So once his core group from within his inner sanctum at number 10's gone, he's following. To me, it's like the worst days of Theresa May before she went, and also the worst days of Boris Johnson before he went. He never came into Parliament, which he should have done, to address how he'd basically misled, and I will say misled the House over Mandelson, and he didn't. He let a junior minister take the heat for that, and he was scurrying around the tea room on Monday, never been seen in the tea room before, to try and speak to people, to try and stop what was all of the operations to oust him within the tea room. The man is gone.
So is this good news for the Tories and for reform that Starmer could be on his way out? Or is it better the devil you know in terms of he's very weak? Is it not better for you guys to have Starmer stay in position because he's an easier target than someone else who might be stronger?
It won't really be about what the other parties want. It'll be about what his own party wants. And they just see a staggering incompetence. They see their support evaporating. They see things that have not been done. And his name doesn't bode well, does it? Everything seems to rhyme with Keir Starmer, doesn't it? It's like two-tier Keir, never hear Keir. Starmer, the farmer harmer, everything is just not working for them, and they want him to go. So it probably will go to the hard left in his party. That's really where it's going to go. But really, Starmer has embraced socialism. The only thing that is expanding is the state. So you're seeing rising employment in sort of just state jobs. You're seeing the civil service gone up by 4,000 in the last year, highest for 19 years, and you're seeing welfare increase. So you're just seeing this massive expansion of statism. You're not seeing, which most people want. They want growth in jobs. They want a dynamic country. They want us to be geopolitically sound and superior, and we're not doing any of these things. No, he's collapsing, I'd say, the country from the inside out, and people are noticing it.
So who are the main factions? Because I keep hearing Andy Burnham's name being mentioned, but he's a mayor. He's not an MP. He can't really run for. He has to go and run for a seat if he's going to have any chance. But who are the main factions in the Labour Party now?
Well, I have to say I've always said, and I thoroughly believe, Andy Burnham is just Keir Starmer with a northern accent.
Really?
He's a political...
The king of the north?
He isn't. He's the windbag of the north. I mean, this is the man who's a Blairite when he needs to be. He's a Corbynista when he needs to be. He'll come up to Liverpool and pretend to be a Scouser. He'll go down the M62 and pretend to be a Mancunian. What does he believe in? Nobody knows, except he wants renationalisation, he wants more on welfare spend, and he wants a wealth tax. This man is just Starmer. And when people talk about what he's done as mayor of Manchester, well, actually, not a lot. He was mayor of Manchester at a time that the Conservative government was pumping billions of pounds into the northern city. So all he did was spend money. So again, very statist. And then he only ever whinged that he needed more money. But where was he on things like the rape gang inquiry disappeared? Where was he when 80,000 crimes disappeared? He was nowhere to be seen, and he blamed it all on the chief constable, where really he is the police crime commissioner. So really, I'd say he's weak. I'd say he was weaker than Starmer, because at least Starmer got rid of Corbyn. If you remember, Corbyn got rid of Andy Burnham.
Well, let me know what you think. Is Starmer toast? Let us know in the comments. Now, last night we had the showpiece events of Donald Trump's UK state visit as power brokers from the worlds of tech, business, media and government, plus various lords and ladies, attended the state banquet. In what was more a symbolic event, the most significant political moment came from King Charles, whose ceremonial toast attempted to gently encourage Trump on the need to defend Ukraine. The glitz, the glamour, the white bow ties all looked sublime. It was Britain at its best, and this is the sort of pageantry that Trump revels in. And I've got to say, I think we do this perfectly. Esther, this is Britain. This is Britain at its best. Pomp, pageantry, wheeling out the royal family. Whether you like them or you don't like them, the rest of the world is obsessed with them. This is what we should be doing more often.
Yeah, Trump was so pro-British. I thought it was fabulous, pro the royal family, pro our spirit, what Britain was all about. If only Starmer could be a little bit more like that. So he's not for the country, he's not for the royal family, he's an internationalist. So actually, I thought Trump could teach him a lesson or two. And really, whether people like Trump or not, I'd say thank goodness we've got somebody who's the president of the United States who is so pro-British. And I also think, really, the UK isn't given enough credit for, thank goodness, having the confidence and the strength to do Brexit, get out of the EU, because if we hadn't have done that, we would have been treated far worse by Trump's tariffs. I mean, look at what's happening in France and Germany. Thank goodness we are our own sovereign nation. And we've got to remember that America is our biggest single trading country. So we do need good relationship with it. So thank goodness for Trump. In fact, Trump's better for our country, it seems, than our weak, prime minister.
This, aesthetically, I think it's been a massive success, this trip. Trump getting in the horse-drawn carriage, rubbing shoulders with Prince William, telling Kate how beautiful she is, then with his good friend, his best pal, Charles. And then today at Chequers, he goes to see the Prime Minister's little private home. This is just wonderful. I can't be any happier about how this trip has gone.
Well, he said it was one of the, best moments of his life. He was really proud to be there. And you are right. At this moment, when I think the country feels it's on its uppers, where nothing seems to be going right, to see this actually, I think, was a little bit of a shot in our arm of confidence to show what we can do right. And the good thing about Britain, even when you think like under, the Labour government of the 70s, we were the sick man of Europe, nothing was happening. Something came around, that something was Margaret Thatcher, and we turned it around. So I was glad to see some of the things that we do best happening yesterday.
Now, let's talk about Melania. You're a very stylish woman yourself.
Oh,
You're a great dresser.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
And I've been impressed with Melania's style. I've loved pretty much every outfit she's worn. What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, of course she's stylish. I mean, she was a supermodel. I mean,
Yeah.
she's got the body, she's got the face. Most of all, she's got those cheekbones, hasn't she? So she is stylish and she can carry clothes very well. The only thing I will say, the hat was slightly too big, because I was looking at some of the photographs, and when they were looking at some of the items inside Windsor, you couldn't see any of her face. The hat was sort of slightly too large. But you know, if you're a lady and you've got a hat on, it takes quite a while then to take the hat off and make sure that the hair looks perfect. But yes, she's a very stylish, first lady, isn't she?
Yeah, the most stylish one we've ever had, I think. Behind closed doors, what are people in Westminster thinking about Starmer and Trump? Are the MPs saying Trump's going to let him have it behind closed doors? Trump's being very nice in public and saying he's going to go easy on him, but behind closed doors, Trump may just be Trump.
I mean, and Trump is a bit of a maverick, and he does say it as it is, and he polarizes people. Some people think he is wonderful, some people hate him. I'm in sort of neither camp. I think he's done well, and I think he's on other things he hasn't. So I don't agree with tariffs. I don't really agree, though he seems to be straightening up his act on Ukraine, but that started off really rather strange, the journey he went down there. However, on illegal immigration, he has absolutely said what he was going to do, and I think people are crying out for somebody to get things done. And I think this will actually make Starmer look so much weaker as a leader, because he doesn't get things done. He talks about stuff and they never happen. So I actually think this juxtaposition to have him here, although he thought this state visit was going to save him, he thought he could scurry away from Parliament, have this state visit, have the party conference season, and he would survive. I don't think so. I actually think the juxtaposition of a man who gets something done, whether you like him or not, next to a very weak leader, actually just shows Starmer's frailties.
Well, Air Force One is departing soon, but if Trump had an extra day in England, what would you want to do?
Do you know what? I would take him up to Cheshire to meet the farmers in Cheshire, because if you remember at the last press conference, he absolutely took Starmer apart about his lack of support for farmers, about his farming tax, and all that will do is destroy an industry. And actually, you do need food. You do need food security with your own country. And I would bring him up because I know he would be cheered from the rafters by my farmers.
I'm glad you said the farmers. I thought you were going to say the Royal Housewives of Cheshire for a moment there, Esther.
They'd all be wanting to say, well, I would take Melania to see the Cheshire Housewives, because they'd all be wanting to know, probably, has she had any tweakments? Where does she go to get the Botox done, the fillers done? Has she had any lifts? And we'd all be wanting to find that out.
Let's move on. Now, on Tuesday this week, we reported that the first migrant flight under the one-in, one-out scheme was cancelled at the very last minute. One out's Thursday, and finally a migrant has been deported after 3 days of legal wranglings. An asylum seeker who crossed the UK via a small boat was flown into Paris from Heathrow this morning. This comes after Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood blasted lefty lawyers, saying last-minute attempts to frustrate a removal are intolerable, and I will fight them at every step. Migrants, suddenly deciding that they are a modern slave on the eve of their removal, having never made such a claim before, make a mockery of our laws and this country's generosity. Strong words from Ms Mahmood there. But, okay, you've got one person out. We're also going to get one person in. Is this just doomed to never really work?
I think it needs to be named correctly. It's not one, in, one out. That's wrong. It needs to be given its proper name, which is one out, one in. We're not getting any fewer people. We're getting more people coming in, and it's only a handful who are going to be removed. We've had very, very few removed. We know there's a flight coming over with France's, who they're putting into our country at the weekend. So let's name it what it is. It's one out and one in, and then all the others who are coming in illegally. And this is the problem, again, of being missold things. This is the problem of having, again, an internationalist in charge of our country. They got rid of Rwanda, which we need a third country to send people to who destroy the documents. They need to be bolder. We all know we need to come out of the ECHR. We need to come out of the Human Rights Act. But this is never going to happen. This scheme, like Smash the Gang, was kidology of the British people. But you know what? They've cottoned on.
Well, Ms Mahmood suggests Labour are now taking this seriously. Certainly her rhetoric and her words She's saying the right things. Should we believe them now?
And I agree. And she is saying a lot more of the right things and things we want to happen. But unfortunately for her, and this is sometimes what happens, she might be wanting to do the right thing. And I actually think she could well be. She could be wanting to do the right thing. She is saying the right thing, but she isn't the person ultimately in charge. The person ultimately in charge is Starmer and his very best friend, another human rights lawyer, who's Lord Hermer. And they don't want to do this. They are at heart internationalists. They will never get rid of the Human Rights Act so long as they've got a nose and lungs and breathe. It is not going to happen. And whilst they remain in place, it doesn't matter what the new Home Secretary says. It's not going to happen, which is sad.
Yeah, well, her rhetoric is going to split the Labour voting base, isn't it?
Interestingly, I think you'll find a lot, and I will call them, I call them blue-collar Britain. I call them working class, and I call it blue-collar Britain because there's blue-collar Conservatives and there's, blue-collar Labour. And they actually, because they suffer the most, want to see illegal immigration and all kind of migration come down because they suffer. They're still on housing waiting lists. They're not getting a 4-star hotel. They're paying their rent, they're paying their bills, they're paying for their food, they're paying for their energy. So actually, I think if Labour were much stronger on cutting back immigration, I think they'd actually get some of those voters back. And that's why you've seen the collapse in the polling and the satisfaction rates in all of the country for Labour, because fundamentally they're not sorting out immigration.
Well, Miss Mahmood's words, to me it sounds like the kind of things that Robert Jenrick says. It also sounds a lot like the things that Reform say. Do you think Labour are shifting this way because they are scared they're losing so many voters to Reform and the Tories?
Oh, absolutely. That's why they're doing it. But the problem is they're only talking and they won't do. And unless they get rid of the key things, and it really is the Human Rights Act, which embeds the European Court, of Human Rights and embeds the Convention into our law. Unless they do that, you see, it is only words. And you can't keep kidding the public. They know what is happening. The figures are going up. More people are here. More people are in hotels. So I'm afraid she will be hung out to dry because although she's saying the right things, the new Home Secretary, she won't be allowed to get those through.
So Starmer essentially is stopping her. He's put someone in place who's going to say the right things, but he's stopping that person from doing anything actually about it.
And the other thing that they need to do, they know they've got activist judges. And one thing Robert Jenrick's done very well is expose that. So you've got people deciding court cases who have been on the boards of sort of migration charities. So are they giving their political decision, their personal decision, or actually are they following the law? And that is the problem. And when you see that happen, you're losing trust and faith in the judicial system. What we cannot have. So I say these judges, these activist judges, need to recuse themselves from these cases. They cannot be making the decisions. And again, Starmer isn't going to do that as a human rights lawyer. These are his friends, and neither is Lord Hermer. So you've got a whole host of problems. You've got to get rid of the machinery and you've got to get rid of those activist judges.
Okay. Well, Esther, let's move on to something a bit lighter now to end the show. Chemical castration. More than 6,000...
I'm glad you're saying that's light.
More than 6,000 sex offenders will be offered chemical castration drugs to suppress their libidos under plans to expand a trial to the north of England. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, said an existing pilot in 4 prisons in the southwest would be widened. Its expansion means that about 6,400 sex offenders in 20 prisons in the northwest and northeast will be able to volunteer to take the medicine. Lammy said the drug, which limits problematic sexual arousal, could be used to restrain offenders who could pose a risk to the public. He will also consider whether to make chemical castration drugs mandatory for sex offenders under plans inherited from Shabana Mahmood, his predecessor. Quite a mouthful. But for once, I'm going to say, well done, David Lammy. I've been banging this drum for years, Esther. I think chemical castration is the very minimum we should be doing to sex offenders, and this can't come sooner enough.
No, well, it's empty words, isn't it? If they can't get rid of a rapist out the country, an illegal migrant rapist, and they can't get rid of somebody who was an Egyptian terrorist, part of a bomb-making cell, because of their human rights, in which world are they going to do chemical castration on anybody? It is not going to happen, because the pilot scheme that they're trying to do is voluntary, only if you choose to do it. And then does it work if you stop taking your pills? So you might take them for a little while and then you don't. So this is just a load of nonsense, when really what you should be looking at is not the words. This is what you've got to do with this Labour government. If they told you it was Thursday, you'd check the diary, wouldn't you? I mean, if you shook hands with Starmer, you'd check you had all the fingers at your end. Do you know what I mean? This is the sort of world we're in. All we know is that they want the Minister for Prisons wants only 1/3 of people in prison. That means 2/3 of people out. And we know that they've got out of prison since September last year to March this year, something like 26,000 prisoners. This is all talking tough and absolutely doing the reverse.
Okay, but let's say those who volunteer do take the drugs, and after a few months, yes, their libido is decreased, and then they're not going to reoffend. There's been trials of it in Denmark, in Finland, and it seems to have worked over there. Maybe we should just be trying it.
Okay, so I would say this Labour government needs to get a little bit more savvy. So what are they going to do? They're going to put them out on early release if they're taking these drugs. Do you know what they'll do? They'll take the drugs for a little while to make sure they get out on early release. They'll stop the drugs and they'll go back to their own habits. The streets are far more dangerous. And what they're looking to do, this Labour government, is have like 7,500 less people in prison by 2028. That's all they're looking to do. Shorten sentences, have more people out of prison. This is the problem. And wouldn't you, if you had huge sexual desire, want to be outside prison, agree to take those tablets for a little while, get out, and then who's going to check that they're still taking these tablets? Who's going to check that?
Well, I guess they have to do the random drug tests, wouldn't they? They have to submit and do random drug tests somewhere. I don't know. But
this is not going to happen, is what I say. It's kidology, and we're making, as is this Labour government, making the streets less safe. And I want these people locked up, out of society, the ones who are illegal migrants who have been raping people, gone out of this country to a third country, and the people from this country need to stay in prison. We need our streets safe again. We need young women, young girls to be safe again.
Okay, well, what about if we made it mandatory for sex offenders, so that you have injections not supposed to be, inject them with the drug when they're in prison. Once they come out of prison, they've got to go every 2 weeks to whatever hospital it is to have these injections done.
I'm saying to you,
it won't happen.
It won't happen. Which I've just explained to you, we can't get rid of people out of this country because they don't like chicken McNuggets in another country and they're staying in this country, or they've family connections in this country and they're remaining here because of the Human Rights Act. Right?
Yeah.
No way are we going to be physically injecting people with drugs against their will.
Well, maybe not under the Labour government, but maybe under a Tory government we could do this.
No, I don't actually believe this would happen. I think you've got to look, how does it work in practice? And like I said, who is going to oversee people are continuing to take their drugs? So I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done. At the moment, it's sort of empty rhetoric and won't happen in reality.
Well, then what's the solution? We just lock them up forever?
With some people with such sexual desires, yes, because a criminal psychologist will tell you the sexual desire is actually stronger than any other. And therefore they are the most difficult prisoners and criminals to look after. They probably don't reform, so it's not like an instant act of violence. It's not like an emotional criminal act. It is a deep atavistic desire.
Okay. Well, make sure you pick up Monday's edition of the Daily Express, where I will talk about chemical castration in my column. Esther McVey, thank you so much for joining us today. The caffeine has worn off. It's time for another espresso, and we have got to go. But thank you for watching the Daily Expresso. Join us tomorrow, where Sam Lister and I answer the best questions, letters, and comments from you lot, our wonderful viewers. Bye-bye.